topic for today is all about language and history. Learning another language is not only learning different words for the same things, but learning another way to think about the things. By Flora Lewis. So, the quote implies that learning a new language goes beyond simply translating words. It means adopting a different perspective on the world, understanding how other cultures perceive and interact with their surroundings. So, before we start our discussion, let me read the learning outcomes. Identify the noteworthy linguists and their contributions to the language that it is today. Trace the development of language in a historical perspective from Anglo-Saxon to global periods. Recognize the language family of English and differentiate the three Englishes according to the period from Old, Middle, and Modern through in-depth historical analysis case.
Good day. I will be discussing about the noteworthy of linguists. So, the study of language advanced significantly after Panana's work with Aristotle and Robert Locke as pivotal figures. Though separated by centuries, their lives and contributions reveal the evolution of linguistic thought. So let's talk about Aristotle. Aristotle was born as the General Macedonia. His father held a position as a court physician. So at the age of 17, Aristotle entered Plato's Academy in Athens. As we all know, Plato was the teacher of Aristotle back then. So Aristotle remains there until Plato's death. So before becoming Plato's successor, Aristotle left Athens and he is living in Asia Minor and Lesbos. So around 343 or 342 BC, Philip II of Macedon invited him to teach his 14 years old son, Alexander. If you are not familiar with Alexander, Alexander is most known as Alexander the Great. So Alexander the Great is a king of ancient Greek kingdom of Macedon. He is widely considered as one of the history's greatest and most successful military commanders. So, in 336 BC, Alexander succeeded to the throne and conquered Greece. Following Alexander's accession, Aristotle established his own school of philosophy, where he taught until 323 BC. After Alexander's death at the age of 32, without Macedonian protection, Aristotle left Athens and lived in Chalcis, north of Athens. He died there in around 322 from a digestive illness. Let's talk about the second one, which is Robert Watt. Robert Watt was born in Manchester, England in 1710. He went to school in Manchester and then to Oxford University. He became a very important church leader and teacher. He held many high positions in the Church of England and was also an advisor to the king. He died in 1787, and the cause of his death is not mentioned, but it's like more on the natural causes due to his age and failing health.
Next is Ferdinand de Saussure. He was born in Geneva, Switzerland. He was a linguistic prodigy learning multiple languages and writing essays on them as a teenager. He is considered one of the pillars of 20th century linguistics and is known as the co-founder of semiotics, or the study of science, and structuralism, or the study that language is a structured system. Saussure argued that language should not be studied as a collection of words, but as a system of relationship between words. He believed that the meaning in language comes from contrasts and relationships rather than individual words alone. His ideas laid the foundation for modern linguistics and influenced many fields, including anthropology, psychology, and literary. Lastly, Avram Noam Chomsky. Chomsky pursued his studies under linguist Zelig Harris and earned his doctorate at the University of Pennsylvania. He is often called the father of modern linguistics and is also a philosopher, cognitive scientist, and political activist. He introduced the concept of universal grammar and the idea that humans are born with an innate ability to learn language. Chomsky proposed that the brain has a language acquisition device, which allows children to learn grammar naturally. He argued that all languages share basic structures and humans have an inborn ability to recognize them. His theories continues to shape research in linguistics, psychology, and artificial intelligence, especially in understanding how humans learn and process language.
Good day, everyone. At this moment, we will explore how language has evolved through time to time. But before we dive into it, let's first understand the concept of acquisition. So, acquisition, it is the process of gaining or developing something in the language. So it refers how humans or us naturally learn and absorbs speeches. And also, the best example is how a child picks up their language or their first language by listening and imitating the people around them or surrounding them. Now, what if a language itself has undergone a process of acquisition or evolution? Just like living organism or just like as human, diba? We have step and we change time over time. This brings up to the Darwinian perspective on language development. So, according to Charles Darwin, human language has evolved similarly to biological species. It undergoes a process of modification where older language give birth to new ones, much like how living organisms adapt and over time. Diba? Charles Darwin pointed out that we have human language similar to biological species. That Charles Darwin is known to his book, the New Selection. And one key idea here is the sociobiological method, which assumes that language is not just a culture tool, but a natural product of a human biology. Also, researchers believe that language is deeply connected to evolution, psychology, and even anthropology. But however, despite its fascinating nature, this theory still lacks empirical evidence. So this theory is just like falsification theory, that it means that if the ideology is not still proven yet, it's still accurate information that people believe, diba? And that there is no direct archaeological traces providing that human language evolved from the animal sounds. Thus, Charles Darwin, or in 1830s, Charles Darwin started searching for the origins of language at that moment. So he focused more on communication abilities of humans. He observed that animals express emotion like fear, joy, or surprise through sounds and their unique gestures. So, di ba, the perfect example of it is, when you think about the dog is girls or they bark, di ba, that signifies or implies that they are hungry. When the dog is whine, so we can categorize that they are sad. Just like humans, when we are sad or devastated, we tend to cry. So in a way, or in this way, it mirrors us human emotion and speech patterns. He also pointed out how certain words such as crack, scrape, and roar imitate the real life sounds and providing a connection between human language and nature. Also, Darwin acknowledged that language makes humans superior to animals. He also emphasized that the resemblance between animal sounds and human speech, highlighting the possibility that our communication system has natural roots. So overall, the development of the English language and human in general can be understood through the evolution perspective. That language acquisition is not just about learning words, it is a dynamic process shaped by nature, society, even biology, the study of a life. So, let me end with a question that will make you think or reflect by yourself that is language purely a human invention, or it could be deeper or just evolutionary origin? So thank you. So that is all of my part.
Okay, so we have here the Indo-European family tree. The first box is around 48% of the population all over the world spoke the Indo-European language, and its family consists of over 200 languages. Well, the explanation of this is that this statement highlights the vast reach and diversity of the Indo-European languages family. It means that nearly half of the world's population speaks a language that traces back to common ancestors. The family includes over 200 languages, showcasing its incredible range and influences across different cultures and regions. So we have here the second box. The earliest known Indo-European language is the common ancestors of modern English and Western languages, grade 2019. No written traces of the Indo-European language could be found, for it was not written down. So the explanation of this thing is this statement explains that while we are known English and other Western languages share a common ancestors, we don't have any written records of this original language. It was likely spoken but written down, making it difficult to study directly. This means we really rely on linguistic analysis and comparisons between modern languages to understand its features. Lastly, we have the third box. The family tree shows a surprising rise of modern languages from a common ancestors. These languages have a common word origin which may not be intelligible to many, but it would serve as a link among them. So the explanation of this statement is this statement emphasizes that remarkable diversity of modern Indo-European languages, all streaming
from a single source. While these languages have evolved significantly, they still share a common word roots even if they are not always recognizable. These shared roots act as a link reminding us of the interconnectedness of these languages and their shared history.
Acquisition. So, discussing this acquisition, it tells us that English language has gone through a series of modifications, for it had been in the mouths of a few generations of speakers. It had changed that its previous form seemed unrecognizable anymore. The English language has historically transitioned from Old English to its modern English structure and conventions. Without further ado, let me elaborate what does this topic means. This period started around 450 AD. During this time, the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes who composed the West Germanic settlers arrived in southern Britain. They carried with them some dialects like the language varieties that produced the Dutch, Frisian, and German. This Germanic influence is prevalent in the vocabulary we use every day, such as comb, common in Old English, old in Old English, and heart in Old English. Irregular verbs were also formed, such as drink, drunk, drunk. In the same manner, several Old English pronunciations are kept in today's spellings. For example, night. Again, night, because it is derived in Old English nit, German net. Old English was mostly written in Latin, complemented by a few Germanic letters to stand for sounds that cannot be produced in Latin. Besides that, the settlements of the Vikings in most parts of the British Isles gave way to the borrowing of additional vocabulary such as day, get, and sky from the Old Norse. The Old English text is prevalent during the start of the Anglo-Saxons epic Beowulf, according to Lore 2019. And let me explain it in the most simplest way that the importance of acquiring the English language is crucial in today's world. Why? Because it serves as a global lingua franca, or the universal language, facilitating communication in business, education, science, and technology. Mastering English opens up opportunities. Again, people, mastering English opens up opportunities for career growth, international collaboration, and access to a vast amount of information, including books, research, and digital content. On the other hand, learning Old English provides insight into the historical and cultural roots of the English language. It helps scholars, historians, and literature enthusiasts understand classic texts like Beowulf and trace the evolution of modern English vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. Studying Old English also enriches one's appreciation of linguistic development and historical contexts, deepening an understanding of medieval culture and society.
Alright, so heads up, eyes here, students. Now, let's tackle about the Middle English. This stage of the English language, spoken roughly from the late 11th century until the late 15th century. It evolved from Old English and eventually transitioned into early modern English. Middle English saw an influx of vocabulary from Norman French due to the Norman conquest of 1066 century. This added many words related to law, art, literature, and government. Spelling was not standardized during this period, so we will find many variations in how words were spelled. Pronunciation was also different. For example, many words that are silent today were pronounced back then. Middle English grammar was more complex than modern English. It retained many inflections or endings on words that indicate tense, case, number, and so on from Old English. but this gradually started to disappear. For example, nouns had different endings depending on their case, where it be nominative, accusative, and such. The word order in Middle English was more flexible than in Modern English due to the inflectional endings. However, by the end of the Middle English period, the subject-verb-object order, or the SVO that we use today, became more common. That's all for the Middle English.
This period marked the introduction of printing, Caxton's preference of the East Midlands, London's English variety for the earliest printed books towards the end of the 15th century influenced the formation of the standardized English language variety with acceptable grammatical forms and vocabulary, fixed spelling and punctuation conventions. The modern English text can be read at the onset of Shakespeare's Hamlet. At present, English is used worldwide as a native tongue, second or foreign tongue, due to imperial and colonial activity, educational and cultural prestige, the interracial slave trade, and international business for economic reasons. Modern English is, however, continually changing and upgrading both its non-standard and standard varieties. Therefore, there is nothing to fear or resist as the language continues to change as it brings unity and comprehensibility to everyone. The importance of modern English is that it serves as a global language, making communication across different cultures and countries easier. So, to make it short, I would like to simply explain it that modern English opens doors to better opportunities and helps people connect globally.
Now, do you have any questions regarding our topic? If none, then here's the references about the topic that we tackled for today. Kindly refer to it na lang po. So without further ado, thank you for listening and have a good day.